Barakatha Yahweh. Alright, there you go. Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders. Of course, a great millstone, true well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, Yuakim to Sadakim, and do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. The pre-Shaman, going to speak on the fact that I was on the RT app and they posted an article. Pardon me, I was on YouTube and RT posted a story that the Muslim states are going to switch to a gold currency to shield themselves from these different sanctions being put upon by the United States. That's pretty much, they put it upon everybody, including their own allies. I mentioned in the previous show that they even put sanctions on Germany for trying to establish a pipeline with Russia, and that's part of their ally. Even sanctions on Turkey, which is a part of NATO. And these sanctions are crippling different economies, all right? Primarily Iran. When I say these different economies, right now I want to focus on the Middle East because the plan is to get Iran. The plan has always been to get Iran for the longest. In fact, the Syrian conflict is not so much for oil for the United States, but rather to balkanize Syria, all right, to cause a snowball effect to disturb ultimately the highways that connect that Iran used to use for trade and commute, you know what I'm saying? That cuts through parts of Iraq and Syria, all right? So right now the war over there is to bleed, all right? Bleed these different states, man, all right? PNAC is in full effect, Project for a New American Century, which was established in 1999 and ultimately started to be executed in 2001 after the fall of the World Trade Center, all right? So they've been in the Middle East, and again, they want Iran bad, all right? And they're doing anything to establish regime change in Syria. And part of that regime change that they want in Iran is issuing these sanctions, man, all right? Which is fucking the average so-called Iranian up, man, which are the Persians today, all right? So they want to shield themselves by switching to gold because the US dollar has become weaponized, man, all right? You cannot do most of your primary trade of your exports you have to go through the US dollar. You can use your currency, but eventually it has to get converted to the US dollar. And Vladimir Putin made a good point. You know, he said, look, man, we want to use the dollar. We love the dollar, but you're forcing us to go away from the dollar. And what does that make you think of? All right? The fact that we've been prophesying it through the spirit a long time, man. There is going to come a fall of the dollar, and to replace it is not going to be gold. I know these nations want to use gold, and they're using gold as a great reserve. But you're not going to see people buying shit in the store with gold. It's just not going to happen, all right? Because this world is run by bankers, and bankers rule the world by interest. Scriptures tells us that the borrower is servant to the lender. So whatever new currency that these bankers want to issue in, they got to make sure it's a fiat currency, a currency that is not based on anything. If you look up the history of fiat currency, which is what the US dollar is, it's not backed by anything, legal tender. Every empire that had fiat currency eventually fell. All right, look at the Roman denarius, all right, the Greek drachma, all right. Once they started devaluing their country and stopped actually making their coins out of gold, all right, this was a gradual step, just like I was a gradual step from a US-backed greenback, a gold-backed greenback, to a Federal Reserve note, which is created at interest, man. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the US government is borrowing its own currency from a privately owned bank, man. All right? A private bank. Meaning, the moment a dollar, let's say the United States wiped this $1 trillion debt to zero, all right? The fact that they have to go to the Federal Reserve for their currency will put them right back in the debt, because the moment you print $1 at interest, you're already back in debt. So that's a cycle. That's a loop that you could never escape, all right? And they pretty much run most of the world. Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Not saying that there's not going to be different fractions and facets of these devils fighting for power, all right? But Yahweh Shai prophesied that, look, a kingdom that fights amongst itself is going to be divided, all right? So the fact that right now that they released that article that they're trying to find means and way amongst to deviate from these sanctions, you can see that the elites in the background is playing 4D chess in the fact that they do want this dollar to collapse, man, all right? They do want this dollar to collapse. But they temporarily might come up with a new currency, a one world currency, but eventually the switch has to go to digital, man. All right, and again, that whatever that currencies they create cannot be backed by gold. All right, because gold is not something you could. You see, when you have something backed by interest rates or a money that's backed by nothing, you could just print more out of it. You cannot mine more gold out the earth. It's a finite resource, man. All right, you cannot make it out of thin air. All right, the process of making gold and finding gold is a precious and scarce item. That's how come the Bible tells you that this is actual money, gold, silver. You know, tangible things, intrinsic things. All right, things of intrinsic value. All right. All right. So before you see this switch, of course, you're gonna have a period where people are gonna be bartering trade with each other. You know, I'm talking about when all hell breaks loose. But yeah, the fact that the fall of the U.S. dollar is right around the corner, all right, which is self-inflicted. You know, if you can see past the bullshit, you can see that this is self-inflicted. They want the dollar to fall, man. They want the U.S. dollar to fail, all right? Because even amongst the elites, you have some of them that are more patient, like the older ones that are like, oh, you know, it's going to take time. You know, give it another X amount of years. But then you have the younger fractions, just like in that movie Blade, that's like, man, fuck it, let's chip these motherfuckers now. What are we waiting on? Let's collapse this dollar now. So you can see there's bickering and fights amongst them. Some want to go to war right now. Some are like, no. Some are like, can you see the impending things of war? So they fight amongst themselves. But ultimately, the puppeteer, Yahweh, all right, who the world ignorantly called God, and his son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ, are going to come and reclaim the planet Earth. That's why when the scripture says there shall be a new heaven and a new earth, the word there is kasad, I believe, in the Hebrew, and kainos in the Greek, which means a refreshing. That right there proves that King Solomon had to be Yahweh Shai, because if it's going to be a renewed rulership, that means he had to have ruled before in the past. And when did he rule? He ruled when he was Yahweh Shai. All right. So that's going to be established again, man. A new kingdom is going to be established again. And it's going to start with the collapse of this one. And a part of the collapse of this society and this kingdom, all right, is the fall of the U.S. dollar, man. So this is good news, man. This is good news, okay? Because let's say peradventure this works, all right? Because Argentina is buying up gold, Venezuela, all these nations have realized that, look, man, the way to avoid the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, all right, which is another predator banking system, okay? The way you protect yourself from these devils, all right, is gold, man. It's gold. That's how you shield yourself from a banker, man, because gold will always hold its value. Can the Federal Reserve say the same thing? Can the Federal Reserve note say the same thing? Can any printed money say the same thing? No. Only the gold has that value, and it's been proven for over 6,000 years, all right? So we're going to see soon the book of James be fulfilled. And we're going to see the book of James be fulfilled where it talks about that your gold and silver is cankered. The word cankered, it goes into rust, right? And we know that gold and silver don't oxidize. So it's not talking about the actual gold and silver. It's talking about the fiat currencies become cankered, disrupted, all right? And it's going to fall. It's going to fall, man. So that's why our mindset is not really to get too much into society, man. We live day by day. All right, if we can store a little money to the side, if we got a little scheme to take care of ourselves or put ourselves in a better situation, best believe we're going to go for it. Use the world but not abuse it. But in the long run, we see the greater picture, that this place is going to fall to the ground, man. All right, the United States is going to fall to the ground. The so-called white man's rulership is going to fall to the ground. And the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are going to rise up. 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, the 7th to 9th verse. With that was just a quick in transit. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, that belongs to the apostles and the elders of Great Melson, which you well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, man. You Akim to Sadakim that do this thing they have most truth and sincerity. And Shalak Rayam, I'll call Adawamium or Gawayim or 2/3, and those that come against this video or try to flag it. Shalom.